My name is Pat Hillman, and I'm a retired teacher, among other things. That's my title. Well, my family first came to Tulare in 1886, 2 years before the city became a city. And my grandfather was 26. He was working for a company in Stockton, and he came down to build a warehouse because the Union Pacific train tracks had just come to Tulare. And so his company built a warehouse there because at that time the farmers dry farmed and they gathered their wheat in fields and then sewed it into sacks and brought it in by buggy, horse and wagon. And he was able to stack it in the warehouse and then send it when the train came in.
My great-grandfather, J.D. High School, so it would be her grandfather, was a complete giver. He made loans out of his own pocket to farmers. He helped people who were behind on their bills. He was a philanthropist, and I think he passed that on to his son, who passed it on to his daughter, Pat, and who passed it on to her kids, and I hope to pass that on to mine.
He brought his family down to Tulare. He had one daughter when he came down, and then the second child was my father, and the family has been in business there ever since.
She's really passionate about the things she does. She goes all in on everything. It's inspirational to see someone have that much passion and that much energy to give to so many things. That is inspiring.
I go to the gym in the morning at 5 and I'm home by 6, so after that, only 3 days a week. After that, I just get involved in whatever comes up.
You know, I admire my mother's determination. My mom's 90 years old. She gets up before 5 o'clock to be at spinning class at 5 o'clock several days per week. She works with a personal trainer, works all day at a variety of civic functions. She's a very determined woman, and that's something I certainly admire.
I'm involved in a lot of different organizations, and it's really fun because there's a lot of variety. And so there is really no typical day. There are meetings, lunches, sometimes dinners, and it's great not to have a schedule. I can do what I want. I'm really involved in education, have been for years and years, and I taught junior high and high school, and then I taught 1 year of kindergarten to see how that was because I had a dual credential.
What comes through is her true interest for students. You can tell that she loves students and their education experience. You can just see it in her face when students present or students are giving some kind of at some event. She just lights up, and you can tell she gets it.
My mother always stressed education as a path forward in life. She was a teacher, an educator, and worked in education throughout her life. She inspired all of us to pursue our educations. College was an expectation. College was something we were going to do. That was not an option. And I think pursuing our education has helped everyone in our family and certainly inspired me.
I was on the Tulare City School Board for 26 years, and I decided that it was time for somebody else to be on that board that had children in the school. And the next year, Jim Bidak saw me at a social function and said, "Why don't you run for our board?"
I spotted Pat at a social event in Fresno, and I had long observed her outstanding boardmanship in Tulare City Schools. And I thought, now that she's getting off of that Tulare City Board, there's a vacancy on our county board. Wouldn't that be a nice transition? So I walked up to her and said, "Hey, have you ever thought about serving on our county board?" "I'll think about that," was her answer. And I was happy to hear that answer all the way home.
Well, I've been into music all my life. My mother was a musician. She played violin, and she wanted us to be involved in music, so I began playing the drum when I was 5, and so I've been involved in music for 85 years. I switched to flute in the 5th grade when you get to choose what you're going to play, but I still played the drum. And when I had taught in Fresno. When I moved back to Tulare, the young man who started the Tulare County Symphony called and asked if I'd like to be involved, and I did want to be involved. And so the symphony started in 1959. So it's been going for a long time, and I was very involved in getting that going and helping organize the Symphony League. And so it's been kind of a way of life for the whole family.
She started me on the cello. She wanted us to all play a symphonic instrument, so my sister played the harp, my other brother played the timpani, and eventually started playing the drums. And my other brother played the saxophone, but only long enough to get through marching band in high school.
The support I've had, my husband is always very supportive because I've been involved in things, with our kids and socially and civically. And he was always there. He didn't really want to get out and do a lot of that, but he was always at home, very encouraging. The kids have all been very encouraging.
In general, we saw her doing the things that, as good citizens and good people and quality friends, we could do ourselves. So it was, growing up with her was a great way to be mentored by somebody who was really on it.
She led us by example, and there were expectations for what we did every day when we got up, when we did our homework, how we were to achieve in school, and I think that was good for all of us. That helped us learn that we could achieve, and that we could also perhaps inspire people as she had.
If I had to pick a word that describes what you have to be if you're going to do that, it would be flexible. Because so many times you make a plan, it doesn't work out like you think it's going to work out. And so you better be able to make a few adjustments here and there.
There's a lot of things, but one thing I really admire is her resilience. She's very resilient. She knows life is ups and downs, but the downs never seem to get to her. And I know everyone has their share, but she's very even keeled. So that means there's some strong resilience there, and that's really inspirational. And she's extremely generous. She gives of her time, she gives of her resources. She's always there to help people. My parents, both my mom and dad, had a big influence. And then after I married, my mother-in-law was a very positive influence in my life. And my parents and she were good about filling in, babysitting, and taking my kids. I think the role of grandparent is something that we all need to be happy about because it's very important. It was to me. I am really impressed with after-school groups, and Pro Youth I think is very, very effective. I remember when they first talked about having after-school activities in Visalia, because I was in Symphony League with Lori Isham, who was the one that really pushed, and eventually that's what Pro Youth came out of, that effort of hers. I am very impressed with what they're doing now because they've gone so many different ways. They're just not having kids after school and babysitting. I mean, they're involved in athletics, all kinds of sports, good instruction on nutrition, and they have gardens of growing and leadership. I can't overestimate what the good that Pro Youth has done in Visalia and in other surrounding towns too. I really like being around people. I like activity. I also like quiet times and reading. And I think helping people, and lots of times without them knowing it, is one of the things that really gives me a lot of happiness. Because there's a lot of joy in giving your joy to others.
I think if you go back in our family history, you find that the women have always been the strength in our family. Going back to coming out with a Donner Party, and she has certainly kept that family tradition. She has been that strength for all of us, and she has been someone who not only stays connected to the community and to her friends, but has kept us connected as a family.
She's the glue of our family, and she's always trying to be the one who hosts the parties, or, you know, we're spread out. I think we have family in 5 states, and when someone comes to town, she's having everyone over for a barbecue, and when she's always trying to stay in touch with everybody. She's a great letter writer, email writer, and at 90 years old, she knows how to run a computer and an iPad, and so she is a communicator, and she is the center of our family.
But also our staff. When our staff, she recognizes our staff for the outstanding job they do. And many of our staff members, after a presentation to the board or something that she reads about in the newspaper, she jots them a note or an email. And it's good feedback that they're getting, and she is paying attention. And one word describing Pat: awesome. No, she's outstanding. And Pat is just outstanding, awesome. She's just, I think if you looked in the dictionary and they said board member, they should have a picture of Pat Hillman, because that's where she's the tops.
Connection. My mom was not only connected to the community, she certainly has connected with a lot of people. I can't tell you the number of family friends who see her as their second mom. She makes friends, she maintains those friends for decades, and I think she connects personally to people as well as with the community.
The word I would use to describe my mother is indefatigable, and to me that just means tireless, and she certainly is. She never seems to be out of gas, she never seems to be sick, she just is completely always on, and I think if you opened your Merriam-Webster dictionary and found that word, you'd find a picture of her right by it, because that very well describes her.
I probably have never told Pat would be, I want to be Pat Hillman when I grow up.